Hello, probers.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome to another installment of the #1 Alien podcast, But It Was Aliens. Taking the reins this week is myself, Moonwalker, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Greybeard.
Hello. Again.
We're taking you to several locations today and across several different years, decades, and even centuries.
Ooh.
We're going to start way back into time. I don't think we've ventured back this far before either.
Have we not?
The year is 1606, and in the city of London...
Oh, yes, we have. Pyramids.
Ah, yes. Yes, we have.
Stonehenge.
So the year is 1606, and in the city of London,
bruv.
hundreds of sheep were found to be slaughtered.
Ooh.
Removed was their tallow, which is better known as animal fat, and some of their innards.
Ew.
Fleece and the whole carcass was left behind. In that year, it was common consensus that these deaths were caused by fireworks.
Fireworks? What? How the hell?
Mad. Absolute mad.
Oh, people in the 1600s.
Just something new, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it must be those.
I suppose. Like 5G today.
Precisely. King James I, who ruled England from 1603 to the 27th of March 1625, his court has records of cattle mutilations. However, I couldn't find those records, and if they started before 1606 or after.
Definitely worthwhile evidence.
So, at the moment, 1606 is our start date.
Okay.
Charles Hoy Fort was an American writer and researcher who specialised in
Ninja stars. He sounds the type.
My name is Charles Hoy Fort.
I have a level 3 in ninja stars. Let's not start this again.
I am a kung fu expert. I'm orange belt.
He specialised in anomalous phenomena. He studied accounts of cattle
I
mutilation.
specialise in anonymous phenomena.
I study accounts of cattle mutilation. You're a bastard, I couldn't resist. Mainly during the late 16th, 19th and early 20th century. And according to his wiki, he was possibly the first person to explain the strange disappearance and appearances of humans as possible alien abductions.
Ooh. Charles Fort.
Specifically stating that the strange lights and objects seen in the sky may be alien spacecrafts.
Okay. What sort of a name is Hoy for a start?
Hoi hoi!
Charles Hoy Fort. Hoy.
What have you thought?
My name is Charles Hoy.
You know when you throw a punch in karate?
Hoy, hoy, hoy,
That's when he throws a ninja star.
hoy.
That's right. I'm a level 3.
I complete a 600-piece jigsaw in 38 minutes.
Upside down.
In a straight jacket.
Blindfolded.
On fire.
In the bath.
With a shark.
I am the original founder of Shark Tank.
Once you start, you can't stop.
So before I get on to several cases of cattle mutilation, I'm going to describe what the general characteristics of a cattle mutilation either look like.
This is going
or
to be
they
lovely.
are. So in most cases, they look clean and precise. The wounds look surgical in nature, clean straight cuts purposely made. All the blood is generally removed with no drop remaining.
That's weird.
None of the corpse and none of the surrounding area too.
So no blood anywhere.
Nope. There are also no tracks or footprints anywhere in the vicinity of the mutilated carcass. However, it's not out of the realms for there to be strange markings around the area.
Okay.
And I have some pictures of mutilations for you.
There is a definitely dead cow in the first picture. That's pretty horrific. With some weird cuts. Its stomach is literally just there, hanging All the skin's been taken away. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't describe that, should I?
As if the udders are removed.
Yeah, the udders have gone and there's no blood around. Oh, the second one's the bottom half of its head's been taken off and it's just a skeleton. What? Again, we have another one with possibly the udders removed. If not, then the skin has been removed to show its stomach. That's really weird. Like, that skin has been cut away very precisely without piercing the stomach itself. What the hell would do that?
So cattle mutilation, also known as bovine excision, was not really known outside of cattle raising communities until 1967, when the story of a horse was brought to the public's attention by the Pueblo Chieftain, a newspaper in Pueblo, Colorado. The story was picked up by larger newspapers and went nationwide. In early coverings of the story, the horse was wrongly identified as Snippy, which was actually the sire of the horse in question, Lady. It was September...
That's such a horse's name, isn't it, Lady?
It was September 9th. The dead body of Lady was found by her owner, Agnes King, and her son. The body accompanied by surgical-like cuts, described by Agnes as precise. There was a strong medicinal odour around the body. There was no blood at the scene, and the horse's head and neck had been skinned and defleshed.
I'm guessing that was the second picture you showed.
Oh no, it doesn't show the horse.
Oh, okay.
I tried to find pictures of the horse but couldn't.
Oh, sorry, this was 67, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one looked more recent.
An investigation was conducted and there were no tracks or footprints within a 30-metre radius of the horse's carcass. Stranger still, the horse's own tracks were not present in that same radius. But what was found in that vicinity was several small holes seemingly punched into the ground, and 2 bushes had been completely flattened. This case was also investigated by Wadsworth Ayer for the Condom Committee.
We've covered them before, haven't we? The Condom Committee.
And was case number 32. He concluded that there was no evidence that what happened to the horse was caused by abnormal circumstances.
So he could explain it then?
Apparently so.
How the hell do you explain that? I'm very interested to hear, because seeing the pictures, that's actually a lot more mind-boggling than I kind of had in my head. So we've got holes punched into the ground and bushes flattened near the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be the tripod landing gear of a UFO, and the bush was flattened by the craft taking off. It's the only logical explanation.
I like the way you think.
I'm genuinely interested to see, do we get his explanation?
No.
Oh, shit. Damn it. You can't just conclude that there was no evidence that it was abnormal and then not explain how it's normal. Because seeing an animal with the bottom half of its skull, or essentially its jaw, carved away to the bone precisely with no blood or anything, then the rest of the animal is perfectly as it should be, is very unusual to me. I mean, even if a human did that, and that takes some bloody expertise to do that, I'd imagine, but even
and time.
To not sever like further than you should on any point to make it all even if a human did that, that's still abnormal to me. Mm-hmm. What sort of person would do that?
Without being caught, you'd have to do that at night. You'd have to have the equipment, and I'm pretty sure you can't get to the horse or creature, take it down without it making a sound, and leave no trace.
That's an unusual one, yeah. Unless it was the farmers themselves.
How would you explain them moving the horse?
Moving it? What do you mean?
In that 30-metre radius, there was no...
They covered their tracks.
Tracks of the horse, them, no vehicle, no nothing.
They threw it. Yeah, I've generally got no idea at this point.
After this case became public, there was a rise in cases of mutilations being reported up and down the country. And in 1974, multiple farmers in Nebraska reported seeing UFOs on the nights that their cattle were harmed. One even describing seeing bluish lights on each side of the craft. So I've mainly spoken about cattle so far, but across the world, these aren't the only creatures that have been found mutilated in this way. Pigs, goats, cats, dogs, bison, deer, and more. Now, what could the meaning of this be? If aliens were visiting, mutilating animals, taking body parts and blood, The body parts that were removed included eyes, ears, flesh from the jaw, tongues, genitals, and even the rectum.
Ew.
Could this be their first step at cloning? Is it possible they were practicing on these creatures first? Or maybe if not cloning, maybe creating life from a single body part?
Interesting idea. I struggle to think of a scientific purpose for taking the arse of a cow. But surely, why would you just take the arse if you're cloning? Why the arse though? Surely you could just take a little swab from like their nostril or take a little flesh sample from their waist. You don't need to take their whole arse. Mind-boggling.
Another thing to consider is that some of these creatures share a lot of DNA with humans. We know that chimpanzees and bonobos are our closest cousins genetically, sharing 99% the same DNA. Gorillas at 98, cats at 90, dogs at 84, and cows at 80%. So what we're seeing is aliens testing. They're taking the odd cat and dog as they're largely in highly populated areas, whereas cattle are close but not too close due to large open fields and less humans. They're getting the building blocks without having to expose themselves. It could be that humans are being produced in a lab somewhere in space using the body parts and DNA from these animals.
Why humans? How do we know they're not reproducing cows or interbreeding cows with themselves to make like alien cows?
Could be. I was thinking more along the lines of not fitting in, but planting spies within us.
Maybe there's cow spies. What are those cows up to? What are they all gathering in fields for? That's suspicious, right?
Hadn't dawned on me, but maybe.
I'm also disturbed to learn that we're more closely related to cats than we are dogs. Although I suppose that explains why we're selfish bastards. How related are we to goats, I wonder?
Wasn't on the list I was looking at, so I'm not sure.
Darn it.
We actually share DNA with plants and fruit as
we
well.
shared DNA with everything because we all came from single-cell organisms ultimately, didn't we? So all life should have a common ancestor somewhere down the line.
Around the same time, UFOs were mentioned. Ranchers have said that they'd seen black helicopters around their fields.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to let you continue.
Which prompted ranchers to form vigilante groups to protect their cattle, which then prompted the authorities to run ads in Colorado to urge them to stop shooting at their survey helicopters. In October 1975, Dane Edwards, who had published an article in July that year about the mutilations and who initially thought it could be the work of a cult, gave an interview to the Colorado Springs Gazette-Telegraph. What a name. With a theory that the government was behind the mutilations. He expressed frustration that the FBI wouldn't get involved and then said he would go on to publish a book about how the whole thing was conceived. Mr. Edwards was then fired from his job shortly after, and then on December 5th that year, his wife filed a missing persons report on him.
They got him. All right, I'm going to roll back a second. Black helicopters are a thing closely associated with UFOs. I had a sort of theory going on in my head when you were showing me the photos earlier that I didn't elaborate upon. But what if this is actually humans experimenting on people's reactions to this? And so like scientists or the military were landing in these places doing weird shit and then flying off again because like the US government, for example, has done some crazy shit. Have you ever heard of, is it MK Ultra? Mm-hmm. So that is not beyond the realms of possibility at all. And to see black choppers involved, maybe they're coming down doing this shit for whatever reason, whether it's to see the farmers' reactions, whether they're genuinely experimenting, maybe they're testing new weapons like face acid.
Possible.
Interesting. So yeah, I tweaked a little bit when you said black helicopters.
In 2019, Anna King for NPR reported on a story in Oregon. 5 purebred bulls mysteriously showed up dead on a ranch. It doesn't state specifically that these bulls did belong to the ranch, but I'm assuming they did. Like they didn't just
whose bulls were
fall
they
from the sky and were just there. So these were 200-pound big, strong animals.
Big, strong bulls.
But all 5 were found dead with all their blood drained and body parts removed.
That's weird.
It's possible that the owner may have had enemies, as these bulls were worth around $6,000 each, and being purebreds, their calves would have been worth thousands too. But how is it possible for a human or small group of humans to take down 5 of them, leaving no trace behind? No tracks or a single drop of blood.
Military. That's how. Covert ops, my friend. Covert. Can I just rewind a second again? So Dane Edwards was never found. When you said that the wife had filed a missing person report, I just assumed we were about to get on to Dane Edwards turning up dead somewhere or something, but literally just flat out disappeared. Damn, that's suspicious.
The sheriff working on the case has said that he's received lots of calls from people claiming it's aliens.
Well, obviously.
They have ruled out the bulls being shot, bears, wolves, cougars, and even poisonous plants. He says, I think if they were attacked by a predator, there'd have been evidence of it, and most of the corpse would have been eaten.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. A wolf would not just eat the bottom part of something's mouth off and leave the rest, would it? Or carefully peel away all the skin of a stomach to get to the stomach itself and then leave it. So, yeah, the 2 options here are aliens or humans.
Now, the year's 2020, and in an article by Kim Wilshire, the French police are investigating a series of cattle mutilations across the country. Animals were found with ears, eyes, and other body parts removed, along with severe injuries to their genitals. However, the difference in this case is that not only is there blood at the scene, the animals are still alive.
Ooh.
These heinous acts were committed by humans, as one was caught in the act whilst trying to mutilate a pig. The president of the ranch it happened on said he was awoken by a pig squeal. When he went out there, he found someone with a knife attacking the pigs. He set his dog on him, and the attacker fled. In another case, the owner of an animal refuge was taken to hospital with a knife wound after confronting 2 men.
Jesus.
In another incident, a horse was stunned, had its eye removed, and a piece of bone from its leg. Poor animal later died. Now, the police aren't sure if it's linked to a satanic rite, some macabre trophy hunt, or an internet challenge.
Macabre? Macabre? Is it macabre? I'm having a Colonel Colonel moment here. That's why. Why were humans doing that? Did we ever get an explanation in any of those cases?
No.
Why the hell?
That was last year, and from what I know, they haven't.
Carrying out sick hoaxes, or was there some sort of... I'm sure this satanic theory, I've touched upon that somewhere in a probe I've got coming up. Not that I've gone into like cattle mutilation, but I'm sure that something I've done crosses over there, but I can't remember it. It's sick bastards. So did the first scene had blood on it, but it's possible that they hadn't had a chance to clean up the blood because they were interrupted.
I think they were just going around attacking animals.
Okay, in the other ones, it doesn't state that there was blood on the scene.
Or the ones in France, they were just attacking animals.
Because, yeah, it's confusing to me how some of the earlier ones, there was no
blood at all.
And if we can get evidence linking that to humans carrying it out, then that pretty much sums up the case, doesn't it? But if we can't, then we could have 2 separate events going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting, though. Utterly disgusting. Again, I can't remember my research on the satanic cult at the moment. I'm hoping that will come back to me at some point before I cover it myself. But why the hell would... Okay, so a satanic rite is done to appease Satan, assume. Why would he want animals slaughtered?
But in a lot of... If you
Isn't
watch
he supposed to like
films
goats
and stuff like that, you'll find a sacrifice and it'll be like the tongue of something, or...
Eye of Newt.
Witches will use Eye of Newt, for example.
Yeah, what if people have got that wrong and Satan actually really likes animals?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just pissing him off. And instead of coming to the world to do his evil bidding, he's just going to torture them when they go to hell.
And animals.
Hey, you.
Unnecessarily.
What do you think Satan sounds like?
Hey, Dad.
English.
He just sounds English. Well, hello there. Welcome to hell.
Kind of like Lucifer from Lucifer.
Okay.
So the US government were receiving pressure from the public, and in May 1979, the case was passed to the FBI, which was headed by Agent Kenneth Rommel, who had 5 key objectives.
Right.
1. Determine the reliability of the information. 2. Determine the cause of as many mutilations as possible, especially the ones reported in New Mexico prior to May. 3. Determine if livestock mutilations constitute a major law enforcement problem. 4. If they do, determine the scope of the problem and offer recommendations to deal with it. And 5. If it's not a law enforcement problem, to recommend that no further law enforcement investigations be funded.
Why is there nothing about aliens in there? 6. If it's not a law enforcement problem, tell the military, shit your pants and run.
Agent Rommel's final report, which was handed in just over a year after the investigation started, estimates that by 1979, 10,000 cattle heads have been mysteriously mutilated.
That's a lot.
However, the majority of those were due to natural predators.
Mm-hmm.
He did mention that some of the cases contained anomalies that could not be accounted for by conventional wisdom. But he doesn't go on to explain what they are.
I was literally just about to ask. So the FBI looked into it and publicly concluded there was nothing for them to bother with, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fact they even looked at it is interesting, but if they did find anything suspicious, they're highly unlikely to tell the world. As we know, they cover shit up all the time.
Precisely.
Dirty bastards.
New Mexico State Patrolman Gabe Valdez, who had investigated dozens of mutilation cases by the time Rommel's report had been finalised, told investigator Christopher O'Brien that in the 6 to 8 months Rommel was investigating, mutilations suddenly became quiet. He believes that this is because the culprits simply moved on to another part of the country. It's also mentioned that Rommel didn't see many of the crime scenes himself due to the fact that he was disgusted by necrotic cows and got others to do the investigation while he sat in the car. During his time investigating, Western Canada was experiencing a lot of mutilations. RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounties.
He's the Mountie.
Corporal Lynn Lauber of the Calgary Detachment says they found it difficult to understand how he came up with the conclusion, having never personally witnessing a mutilation firsthand.
A fine point.
And said he'd like to see Rommel write off their confirmed cases as predators. After the federal investigations, it was continued at a state level. This investigation found that some of the animals had been tranquilized and then treated with an anticoagulant before being mutilated. And they also believed that over time the surgical techniques became more professional, but they were still unable to determine responsibility or motive.
I say, okay, so they were tranquilized, which suggests human origin, because why would aliens use human techniques and chemistry? I think that's more likely to be, more likely to be humans. But why? I keep coming back to that. I mean, it doesn't really make sense that aliens would keep doing it over and over and over.
Nope.
Let alone humans doing it repeatedly, because you'd only need to do it once or twice for scientific research purposes.
And if it's humans fucking about, that's a lot to do just to fuck about.
And they're getting better and better at it as well. Are they like enjoying it?
For?
Are they like dirty sadistic fucks?
Possible.
Instead of being into killing humans, they're into killing animals?
Maybe it stops that urge to kill humans.
You got a bunch of young Dexters all around the world trying to control their urges by visiting farms every now and then. It could, that could well be it, to be fair. Just cracked it. Dee 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 dee.
Started watching that again.
Brilliant show. Well, brilliant book. Some okay books following that. Brilliant couple of seasons. Tailed off towards the end.
Kind of like Thrones.
Friends?
Thrones.
Oh, I was going to say.
Brilliant. And then that last season. Oh.
Yeah, and to be fair, I've never read the books for Thrones.
Oh, me neither.
But they pushed themselves too far and tried to pack too much in, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And the payoffs weren't really what had been hoped.
I think they were given time. They just didn't want
take it.
Yeah.
They chose how many episodes to have.
So let's take a look at some other theories for this phenomenon. Satanic rituals and cults.
Glorious.
They have been blamed for the mutilation of cattle since the 70s. People that thought this believed that the blood is harvested and the organs used for rituals. The US Treasury assigned David Flickinger to investigate the connection between the cults and cattle mutilation.
Old Flicky.
Unusual incidents and circumstantial evidence was recorded, but he could not find a single piece of sufficient evidence to link the cults to the cattle mutilations. But there were reports during the time of menacing groups around the sites where mutilations took place. One of the most disturbing to witness is when a motorist reported to the police that he came upon 15 masked individuals linking arms forming a roadblock, which forced him to turn around. This happened on the US Highway 95 in northern Idaho, an area which had its fair share of mutilations at the time.
What the hell?
When I read that, I pictured the chain link of people from Us, but at
yeah.
But at night,
yeah,
I would turn around.
Why the hell were they stopping?
Nobody knows.
They just didn't want them around.
Maybe something sinister was going on.
So no evidence of satanic rituals, yet a mysterious group has stopped them from investigating this.
No, it's literally stopped one motorcyclist.
Okay.
I thought you were about to say something else.
No, I'm just confused, to be honest.
One other theory, government involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Charles T. Oliphant, in his 1997 article, Dead Cows I've Known,
that sounds like a pleasant read,
suggests that the NIH or CDC or another branch of the government are involved and that they have assistance from the military.
Black choppers.
This is because that in some cases, human pharmaceuticals have been found in mutilated corpses.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks it could be research into emerging cattle diseases and the possibility of transmitting to humans, as mutilations commonly involve areas of the animal that relate to input, output, and reproduction.
Oh, that is a bloody good shout. And what if, rather than researching cattle diseases, they're researching ways to create human diseases, biological warfare?
Oliphant mentions that Preston Ebola virus case to strengthen his case. What went down in Reston, Virginia, plain-clothed military officers travelled in unmarked vehicles and secretly, not so secret now, removed and destroyed animals contaminated with a highly infectious disease. A 2002 NIDS report tells of an incident in 1976 where two Cache County police officers and ranchers who had organised a patrol after cattle deaths in the area surveyed an unmarked aircraft they thought was connected. They encountered several men in the unmarked Army helicopter at a small airport. After a heated encounter, mutilations in the area stopped for about 5 years.
Coincidental, eh? So an unmarked chopper, would that be otherwise known as a black chopper?
Possibly.
With no markings on it?
They never mentioned the colour.
Interesting. Yeah, this one's dotting about a little bit, and I feel like there's a few different things going on here. So it could be that all these theories are actually right, just depending on which mutilation you look at.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are completely mauled is probably animals. The ones that are carefully cut are more likely to be humans. But then you have some that are probably being done by deranged bastards, some that are being done by equally deranged cultists, some that are being done by potential research groups, whether they're government or military based.
What about those from the sky?
And some are aliens.
This is the part of the episode where we turn to science. Blowflies are scavengers that have been said to make carcasses look mutilated.
Really?
These animals simply die of natural causes and then are fed upon by scavengers and parasites. Missing or mutilated body parts are explained as missing or damaged due to dehydration, or scavengers feeding on the soft, fleshy parts of the animal.
But then they left some of the soft, fleshy parts.
Blowflies will enter the body through the mouth or anus and feed upon the fleshy parts of the body. And vultures and other carrion birds have been known to target the eyes. The absence of blood could be down to blood pooling in the lowest part of the body, where it is then broken down into its basic organic components. Externally, where blood would be found, it's consumed by insects or reduced by solar desiccation. The surgical-like cuts found on a corpse could be down to bloating of the body post-mortem, which would cause the skin to split in linear cuts.
Oh, okay. That helps a lot.
To test this, a dead cow was left for 48 hours and observed. The bloating of the body caused the exact types of surgical tears reported in mutilations, and flies and maggots feasting on the corpse also replicated the soft tissue damage. This has not been received fully by some ranchers, as you can imagine, as some have
It was goddamn aliens!
as some have said their cattle have not shown any signs of illness or disease prior to death, and some have been too large and strong to be easily taken down by a predator. And some have even argued that some of the mutilated cows had been the healthiest cows of their herd.
See, now I call bullshit on the farmers there, because I know for a fact that cows experience high levels of stress. They are pack animals in a sense. If you take one cow away from a group of cows, they can get really stressed out and like have a heart attack and shit. So these cows, just because they're big and strong, so they could die of completely natural causes regardless of how healthy they are.
Mm-hmm.
I still find it weird that the flies and maggots all attack one particular area, like, for example, the bottom half of the face. Why would they all take away?
I think it's the lips. So where the lip dehydration starts to come back, it leaves like the fleshy part, so they eat away at that. I don't think they can actually get through the skin.
Okay, so they need a starting point and they spread out from there. Okay, that is grim as shit. Also, what a life for a fly, entering people through the anus. My God. Can you imagine a fly coming back to his wife and children at the end of the day after an active day out? What you been up to today, Jim?
Well, I've been an ass.
You know, that'd be natural to them, so they'd just celebrate it.
Oh, Jim, that's wonderful.
I got in deep. Smelled like shit.
Oh, Jim, take me to bed.
Precisely like that. So to summarise, we have multiple examples of cattle mutilation where the blame has been shifted to several parties. We have had aliens, the government, cults, predators, and Mother Nature herself. We've also had instances where people are just being assholes and hurting animals, maybe for sport or an internet challenge.
I feel like you've nailed your summary there, or your science, to be honest. I've learned a couple of new things.
Flies like ass.
Flies like ass. No, I think we all already knew that.
Well,
but about the bloating, splitting the skin, which now that I think about it and revert my mind back to the images from the start, that makes absolute sense.
Indeed it does.
And it really does explain why they're so even.
We are an educational podcast.
Indeed. Maybe we should change our category to education.
Can you imagine someone handing in like a science report and we're quoted?
Don't do that.
Please do that. And then show us the proof.
Glorious. There wasn't really much to suggest aliens throughout this one.
I think it was just the odd one where
there was no
trees.
Tracks around the bodies.
Yeah.
And which there's probably like weather could take away the tracks and whatnot. There's logical explanations we could conclude if we looked into that specific incident further. So on that note, I'm not saying that it was aliens, but it was blowflies. Yeah, I can't conclude that that's aliens, whilst there might be the odd unusual one that specifically could be picked into further. Overall, I think you've done a tidy job there.
Well, thank you, sir. Well, thank you.
Well played, sir.
Now, I found this case genuinely hard at times, but ultimately found that each was lacking evidence of some kind. But I've hung my hat on one theory, and that is that it was natural causes. And what brings me to this is that we have reports of this happening all the way back to 1606, which then cancels out everything else for me. It's also possible that it's a bit of a mixture of all of them, but it wasn't aliens. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to another. If you aren't following us already, you can find us at our Facebook group, Extraterrestrial Towers. We're on Instagram at But It Was Aliens Podcast. And you can find us on at But It Was Aliens. I've been Moonwalker. He's been Greybeard. Stay safe and remember, the truth is up there.
Hashtag